I'm Ralph Tyko of the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and my co-host on this show is Ian Kahanowitz, and fortunately, he's on the line. How are you doing, man?
We're doing great. You know, the weather is topsy-turvy up in Red Sox Nation. Yesterday it was like near 80. Today it's in the 50s. So, you know, I bet you Alameda's a lot better.
Well, we've had a rough winter, and it's a tough transition into spring. We had a week or so when it was really nice. First part of this week has been rainy, subject to clearing up for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm not a weatherman, but I play one on the radio, and so it could be better, it could be worse. Ian, I just got to know, and we've talked a long time. I don't even know the answer to this question. How did a New Yorker get to be a Boston guy, a Massachusetts guy? What precipitated the move originally?
Originally, I had made law school up here in Massachusetts, and in 1993, I left New York City. I left my family, who still lives there in New York City, and left my friends and ex-girlfriends behind, and I moved to a small town called Andover. I went to law school up here. I met my wife. I was going to stay anyway. Passed the bar exam, became a practicing attorney up here in Massachusetts, and stayed in a small town near Rhode Island, and that's how I got up here.
Beautiful. The adjustment to fandom, that must have been difficult for you originally. In other words, you're a New Yorker with your New York roots, rooting for the teams you grew up for, and now you are in, as you say, the Boston Nation, the Red Sox Nation. You must have a lot of hot debates with your friends.
Well, you know what? You know, it was interesting. When I came up here in 1993, the Celtics had stopped winning championship games. The Bruins haven't won in a long time, but they lost 2, I think, to Edmonton in the 1980s. And the Red Sox were just god-awful in 93. The Patriots, I mean, Bill Parcells was first taken over. So it was a very depressed history here in New England. And I went down to a bar at Faneuil Hall, which is in the center of Boston. It's right by the City Hall and all this stuff. And I was in the bar, and I was watching a Red Sox game, and I asked this guy, I said, where were you when Bunky Dent hit the home run 15 years ago? The guy looked like he was going to kill me because I didn't realize.
Great.
That's how clueless I was. I was so clueless about Red Sox Nation. And all my friends up here are Red Sox. My kids are Red Sox fans. Of course, my wife is. I live 8 minutes from Gillette Stadium where the Patriots play. So I couldn't even watch my New York Giants beat the Patriots the first time because my kids were firstborn and I had to take care of them. I woke up at midnight and to go do a feeding, and I said, let's hope to see how bad the Giants lost to the Patriots. I'm like, I missed the greatest Super Bowl ever. So I go to Patriots training camp. There's a few Patriots. Teddy Bruschi lives about a mile away from me. I see him in church. Yeah, but let me tell you something about the Sox Nation up here. In 2004, with the great collapse of the New York Yankees, I didn't hear the end of it. I mean, this was like heaven came down on earth for the people here in New England. And then they won the World Series, and everyone went crazy. And of course, the Patriots continue to win. Tom Brady is just an enigma. The Celtics are in the playoffs. The Bruins are in the playoffs. The Red Sox have a good team. But I will say this about Red Sox Nation: they are the most knowledgeable and most diehard fans in Major League Baseball.
More so than the New York teams, you think?
No. Yeah, definitely. I think more than the New York teams. I even think more than in San Francisco or L.A. I would compare the Red Sox fans to the kind of delirium that the Dodgers had in Brooklyn. And of course, we just have Brooklyn on the map there because you have the New York Giants, which we talk about. We have the Yankees in the Bronx. But we're here in New England, and New England covers 6 states. So from Maine to New Hampshire to Vermont, Massachusetts, half of Connecticut, everything east of Hartford is Red Sox Nation. And Rhode Island, these folks are die-harders. They know the history. They are rabid. Like yesterday on the Marathon Monday, everything was closed, and Fenway Park had a game at 11 o'clock in the morning. Crowded, people eating breakfast at the park. Red Sox fans are dying. Roses to the graves of their a Red Sox victory in the World Series. That's how diehard these fans are.
Well, it's like the Cubs. I mean, Cubs more so probably, given everything.
You know the thing with the Cubs is they got to share a city with the White Sox, so you split. But yeah, that kind of rabid devotion. But again, you're talking about a city. Here, you're talking about 6 states. It should rightfully be the New England Red Sox, just like the New England Patriots. But it's that same kind of logic. They were losers, lovable losers for so long. With Boston, it was worse. They were cursed. Whether you believe in the curse or not, and I had a show on Babe Ruth, which you published yesterday. It's subject to debate.
Great show, by the way.
Thank you.
Terrific. I learned so much from you and your shows, and we're going to learn a little bit today about an old Giant great who was one of my favorites. He wore number 35 for the Giants, and his name was Sal Maglie. I thought he was great. He was the Barber. He was intimidating. He was everything a young kid wanted to root for in a starting pitcher for his team. And then one day he gets traded to the Dodgers. The rivalry was incredible, and that was just like Leo DeRocha going from the Dodgers as the manager to the Giants as a manager. It was mind-messing, to say the least, for a fan. What are your memories of Sal the Barber? And then we'll talk a little current Giants to complete the cycle.
I don't remember Sal because I grew up in 1970. I was born, but Sal is well known, and I'll tell you why Sal was well known, Ralph. He was one of the few people who had the distinction of playing for the Yankees, the Giants, and the Dodgers while they were all in New York. That's a very important fact. Also with Maglie, when we get into Sal Maglie, we get into the Mexican League because he was one of the defectors there where salaries were a lot higher. He took time off during the war. In Cuba, he played. He was suspended because Happy Chandler did banish those who went to the Mexican leagues. And when they folded, he couldn't really come back until the 1950 season. But when we speak about Sal Maglie, there's such a wealth of information that a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know he was up against Larson that day when Larson pitched a perfect game. I think that was it.
Hey, Ian, I'm still glowing. Last week I interviewed the man who announced that game, Bob Wolf, and it was one of the best interviews, most memorable interviews I did for me, and I just learned that right now. Did not remember that Maglie pitched that game. As a Dodger, that's amazing. Are you with me? Are you with me, sir? Ian Kahanowitz. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little break. I'm going to play a little music.
You're breaking up on me, but that's fine.
Oh, no, you broke up on me. Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. It's been on and off, but that's fine. Let's continue. So what happens with Don Lawson? I mean, Maglie goes against him. He was the Dodgers pitching opponent. But, he also had a no-hitter against the Philadelphia Phillies at Ebbets Field. A slew of things you could say about Maglie. Now, this is one tidbit a lot of people don't know. Don Drysdale credited Maglie with teaching him the art of brushing back batters while the two were teammates in Brooklyn. So that's something that when you do your research, that's how pivotal Maglie was. But next week it will be Maglie's 100th birthday. You know that, Ralph, right?
Boy, does that make me feel old, let me tell you. Sal Maglie's 100. Sal Maglie was written about in the Jim Bouton book, Ball 4. He happened to be a coach at the time with the Seattle team, the Seattle Pilots, and he wasn't given a good write-up by Jim Bouton. He just didn't come off as being a very, very good pitching coach. Just which surprised me because, as you say, he had a lot to teach, and he taught Don Drysdale, he taught Don Drysdale to brush back batters, and that made his career, made both of their careers, as a matter of fact. It was a different era then when pitchers could own the plate. They could own their part of the plate. And things have changed along those lines. Pitching has changed. You have any thoughts on that?
Well, strategy has changed. I mean, now now you have pitch counts and how fast you're throwing the ball and all this sabermetrics garbage, which I like.
And how fast the ball leaves the bat, which is another statistic. Exit velocity, not incoming, and exit velocity. It's a totally different game. Totally different priorities. I think the fastball has been gotten to the point where pitchers want to throw 98, 99, and they're not paying as much attention to the off-speed pitch that sets it up. And to say nothing of the rash of injuries that I think is caused by just trying to pitch outside of yourself. Let's put it that way.
Well, but
go ahead.
It's weird with Bouton. He ripped them in his book, whereas Jim Lundberg, the AL Cy Young Award winner in '67, he credited his effectiveness that year to Maglie's lesson on pitching inside, while he was a coach for the impossible dream season for the Red Sox. Whereas Bouton, again 2 years later, he ripped him, saying that Maglie second-guessed everything he did. And I'll even quote from Bouton. The man I love, which was Maglie, had quite an adventure tonight. Darrell Brandon pitching, and with Rod Carew on third base, he's using a full windup. At the last moment, he decides to take a look over to Carew, who's taking a pretty good lead. So he backs off the rubber, and Sal yells at him from the dugout, "For Christ's sakes, get the hitter. The runner isn't going anywhere." So Darrell winds up and lets the ball fly, and Carew steals home. When Darrell comes into the dugout at the end of the inning, Maglie let him have it, saying, "Damn it," he says, you've got to pitch from the stretch in that situation." So, but yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, what could you possibly do with that? I think
I know. I'll
it's
tell you
tough.
my great Maglie quote when Ralph Branco was fetching because his sign was stolen and Bobby Thompson hit the home run. And there's almost no question in this point with revised history, with green cathedrals having been written, Thompson knew what pitch was coming. He knew it was going to be a fastball. And time after time, Branco, over the course of his life, would just complain and whine and this, that, and the other thing. One day, Branco looks at him. You should have thrown a curveball, Dago. That's what
Yeah.
he told him.
It's fascinating, especially with Thompson, because we still don't know to this day if DeRocha knew that the signs were coming and a fastball would be thrown at Bobby Thompson. It's still subject to the debate. Everyone in history has denied that.
Well, there was a pretty definitive book. I can't think of his name. He's a Wall Street Journal journalist, and the book is Green Cathedrals, and it's pretty much been decided upon by history that there was an elaborate telescope / buzzer that would a system that was set up between DeRocha and Herman Franks, where they set a telescope up in the center field bleachers, and for the last month of the season, they knew the signs. They came back in that incredible comeback from 13 and a half games out. Remember, I'm a Giant fan. This was tough to learn for me. But it turned out they knew what was coming, and they'd get the sign. Herman Franks would. He'd have a buzzer system. It would be sent to the Giant dugout, and the sign was relayed, and some Giants enjoyed getting the signs, and some didn't really care. He had a list in his book of who were the folks that enjoyed getting the signs, who didn't. Bobby Thompson did, and the interviewer, the author of the book, talked extensively to Bobby, and it was pretty much they had an idea that it was coming. Still had to hit the ball. You still got to give Bobby Thompson the credit for hitting the ball, but there was a general idea of what the pitch was going to be, and that's part of history. And there you go. But also you got to remember, sign stealing wasn't illegal in those days, and there were other teams doing it. Giants weren't the only ones. A famous story of the Pirates and the Braves stealing each other's signs. So that's all part of baseball. It's part of the humanity of it, and I'm grateful that the Giants won in 51. If it's a little tainted, so be it. Ian, let's talk about current Giants, what's been happening, if you would.
Well, the Giants are off to a strange start. They got a whole bunch of injuries. We're in week number 3 now, and what's going on is the Giants are still struggling to find ways to win games. The first 7 games, the Giants were 2-5. Then they won the next 3 of the 7 games, rounding out their current record to, as of the 17th, to 5-9, which puts them last. Now, even worse than that, the Giants began last week, if not their best player, Buster Posey. He's on the disabled list, the 7-day concussion disabled list. So,
his concussion too. That's what's a little bit scary.
He plays so hard, Posey, but I also think he's very unlucky with the concussions as well. He was supposed to, I think, return tonight. They said So Tim Federowitz made the roster and has been doing catching duties. It didn't only include Posey being injured. Last weekend, Jared Parker made a great catch right at the wall.
Right at the wall, smacked it. Boy, I felt his pain. He looked like he'd been shot. He just, wow. And he's going to be out for quite some time. That's the shoulder separations, clavicle, this, that, the other thing. That's going to be a while for him. You know what I like about the Giants is Crawford, their shortstop.
Yes.
He's gotten to the point where he could be the best shortstop in the game.
I like Crawford also. I think that the kid is going to even up his game when the Giants get healthy again. And remember this, besides that shining thing with Crawford, the Giants really lost most of their games this year by 1 run. That's not going to continue. I still think the predictions of early season, I still think the Giants are going to get it together and make a run for the postseason because I just can't see them in this funk. They have a stellar pitching staff. They just need to get healthy. And it's really too early to tell if this is going to be going the way it is, and I don't think it will.
Well, the thing that scares me, they cleaned house in the bullpen. Romo's gone, Casillas gone. And more than just the numbers, it's continuity. To me, if a team can develop a continuity in the bullpen from year to year, you have guys coming in, playing different roles. But to replace the heart of your bullpen and to expect an adjustment, a comfortable adjustment, might be pushing things a little bit. And that'll settle down, though. That bullpen will, within a few weeks, settle down. I think it'll be fine. I think the Dodgers and Arizona, their number one opponents in the West, still have a lot of holes. Got to say, Puig, give him some credit with the Dodgers. He's coming on and starting to fulfill some potential. He's got some tools. And as a Giants fan, that scares me. And I heard a rumor that the Dodgers are about to acquire Braun from Milwaukee. I don't know if you heard that, if that's in the rumor mill where you are.
Yeah, I heard that Braun has been, been chopped. He's lost a little off the edge. Remember the controversy a few years ago with Braun. I like Braun. He would definitely be a help to the Dodgers if they get him, but I don't know how close they are to picking him up. There's been talks of it. I haven't seen anything concrete yet.
Okay. If you had your druthers in life and you had to live one place, just for sports, just for baseball, would it be where you are? Or would it be, say, in Chicago? Would it be on the West Coast? Just for sports, taking everything out of consideration, who has the best sports market going? I'm just asking this question off the top of my head because the reason being, I'm going to tell you that the Bay Area should be in contention for that as the best sports market in the country, and the Giants are a big part of that.
In my opinion, I grew up in New York, and when I was there, it was the Yankees and Mets, and the Giants and the Jets and the Knicks, and now the Mets are in Brooklyn, and you had the Islanders. Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn has come around since I left in '93.
Absolutely.
I think the best sports market is still New York, but I don't think it captures the imagination of, say, the 20s through the mid-60s, before the Super Bowl, when baseball was king in New York and you had all three teams always in the World Series, and you had a Giants team that was stellar, and you had a Jets team that was carved out of the AFL. I still think right now, with the Mets being good and the Giants and the Jets have to improve, Phil Jackson is receiving harsh criticism of his handling of the Knicks. The Nets are in Brooklyn. The Islanders are in Brooklyn. The Cyclones are in Brooklyn. Two teams in every sport, the Islanders, Rangers, Devils. I think market-wise, you get more choices in New York. Of course, I've been up here now 24 years in New England, and I can say it's a unique place. It is also a very, very good market to be in. What I notice more up here, besides being diehard Red Sox fans and Bruins fans and Celtics and Patriots fans, there's a lot of ball out here. I live 10 minutes away from McCoy Stadium where the Pawtucket Red Sox play. A lot of minor league ball up here. A lot of college football, a lot of college baseball, a lot of minor league baseball, a lot of hockey.
Pawtucket has been the AAA club of the Red Sox since I was a kid. Since I can't remember any other team having as long-standing minor league affiliation as Pawtucket. What do you contribute that to? Is it just a little? Is Pawtucket itself a little Boston? What's the spirit like in Pawtucket?
Well, the spirit now in Pawtucket is mixed because right now they're trying to find a new field. They redid McCoy Stadium about 12 years ago. They renovated it. They did things to it that brought in more people. Pawtucket is basically a blue-collar mini-city. It's not anything like Boston. Most of it's worn down. It's old. It's from the 1800s. There's very poor sections of it. And the problem with the Pawtucket Red Sox now is they're not filling the seats. People are not coming to the games for a variety of reasons. Number one, the neighborhood. Number two, the parking. Number three is the fact that they have not had a good team on the field for years. But I've been to McCoy Stadium, and I've been to McCoy Stadium last year, and it is an excellent ballpark to go to a minor league game. And I'll tell you why. The food is cheap. It's all local flavors. And if you're into beer drinking, and I'm not because I'm diabetic, they have the local brews here, Narragansett Ale, all the local home brews you could find at most minor league park. And I think when you come to McCoy Stadium, you really get a flavor of New England.
That's good to hear because the expression was, if you're not doing well, we'll send you to Pawtucket. That was and that was, as a kid, I can remember the Red Sox, Pawtucket. This is even before you were born, 1948. Giants moved from New York. I'm devastated. I'm looking for teams to follow. The Red Sox in '58 had one of the most interesting teams ever going. They had, listen to the center field, Pearsall in center, Jackie Jensen in right, and Ted Williams in left. And I think that was as good an outfield, obviously good an all-around outfield ever, and had a California kid from Berkeley, Jackie Jensen, a two-sport star. He was an All-American at Cal and became a Red Sox. And what killed his career was his fear of flying. And I have a big affinity and identification of being not afraid so much of flying as crashing. That did it. And it drove him out of the game. He retired 1 year in the prime of his career, and then came back, and it just wasn't the same for him because of his fear of flying. So, but I remember that outfield, and I remember Sammy White was the catcher, and lacking a little bit of infield strength, middle infield strength, and pitching. Other than that, they had Frank Malzone at third base. He was a Bronx kid, and those were good days for the Red Sox. They almost got over the hump in the 50s, and then things went into the crapper. One of the things that hurt them, I think, was their failure to bring African Americans into the game until 1959, 12 years after Jackie. Pumpsy Green, what a disgrace, for a lot of reasons. You miss New York?
In some respects, I do, Ralph. I come from a borough that had, 4.5 million people to a town that only has 25,000 people. It's a big adjustment. Do I miss the crime and the people and the crowds now that I'm getting old? No, I don't. I'm very happy in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Now that I can get the Yes channel because I have a free subscription to Major League Baseball TV and I can watch the Yankees, I feel a lot better.
That's nice. That's nice. You take care of you're talking MLB TV.
Yeah, Major League Baseball TV.com, and if you're a T-Mobile, which I am, a T-Mobile user, they had the Tuesdays, and they give out prizes, and one of them was a free subscription for a year. So I get every game except the Red Sox games because it's blacked out because it's the local team here. It's on NESN, New England Sports Network. But I get every Yankee game, and but it's very interesting watching my kids growing up hating the Yankees, and all the little league teams that are in the area. They have the Detroit Tigers, they have the New York Mets. They refuse to have the Yankees on it. It's such a different world than the world I grew up. I do miss New York and hanging. But I've gotten used to being a country bumpkin in the middle of the woods here, and watching my kids grow up and they seeing that the sports teams here are thriving, they're winning championships. I think for me, it's a good time to be in New England.
Ian, what kind of law do you practice? Do you practice sports law at all? Do you get into player representation and stuff like that?
The law I practiced when I first came out of law school was personal injury. But then I went back, that wasn't enough schooling. Besides having a master's in history, I ended up getting my master's in tax and accounting and became a tax attorney. If you Google me on Google, and I tell people because I don't like to talk about my career. I don't like to do these things. You can find my whole career. I was vice president of Citizens Bank's tax department. I have fought the IRS, and I fought the state governments for businesses and people. My thing is that I am a tax attorney. And when the IRS comes knocking to people and they need help, that's when they call me. And I do it out of my living room, right on the same computer. I do the show with you, and I do Genesis, and I'm with Alan Bumpkin and David Namek.
Beautiful. Hey, you're an asset to this podcast radio network, Comfortably Zoned Radio. Thank you, Ian. We're going to talk next week. What do you want to talk about with the Giants? I'm going to leave it to you. I've been doing the producing on this. I want you to come up with, and it doesn't have to be a split-second decision. I want you to work on it, and you tell me during the week what you want me to do to prepare. It's your baby. How about
I'll tell you what right now. I just had a show with Paul Dixon the other day. I sent you the tapes on Leo DeRocha. And the topic is why when Leo DeRocha went to the Giants and he changed his managing style, he became more of a father figure than the violent, vile manager we saw with the Brooklyn Dodgers and later on with the Cubs, which he really did contribute to the demise of the '69 Cubs. I think that span of the New York Giants, he just was like Jekyll and Hyde. I think that's something to talk about.
Beautiful. We'll talk about him, Leo the Lip. Thank you, Ian, and thank you, everybody out there, for listening. Just keep on keeping on. We'll catch you next week. Thanks, everybody. Bye, Ian.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
All right.